Good evening, I'm Brett Baer. The countdown clock to the election continues to roll backward one day at a time, while the federal deficit continues to surge out of control, on pace to hit $1.1 trillion this fiscal year. That poses a major survival issue for a president coming up for re-election in less than 11 weeks. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry reports.
It is good to be back in Nevada.
As President Obama made his case in another key battleground.
The fact is that everything I've done has been focused on how we rebuild that strong middle class.
Back in Washington, a much harsher verdict about the fiscal mess. The Congressional Budget Office projecting a president who vowed to cut the deficit in half will now see it exceed $1 trillion for the fourth straight year.
We don't know how long this can go on for.
And if leaders in both parties fail to stop massive tax increases and automatic spending cuts coming at the end of the year, there will be short-term deficit relief, but it could spark another recession.
If allowed to occur, those sharp reductions in taxes and sharp reductions in federal spending, and increases in taxes will lead to a dramatic reduction in the federal deficit, trimming it by almost $500 billion next year. That would be a significant tightening of fiscal policy and would probably lead to a recession early next year.
While the president said nothing about the report, his aides jumped on it to point out the so-called fiscal cliff could be avoided if House Republicans join Democrats in extending the current Bush tax rates for the middle class, saying, quote, they're willing to hold the middle class hostage unless we also give massive new tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires, tax cuts we can't afford. Republican Mitt Romney wants all of the Bush tax rates extended and charged, quote, today's CBO report is another indictment of President Obama's economic policies that have resulted in overspending, increasing debt, and a growing financial burden on the next generation, just one day after Vice President Biden declared the middle class is coming back.
They have been ravaged. They have been ravaged, but they're starting to come back. We've helped them keep their homes and their health care.
Talk of a comeback may be dampened by the Federal Reserve. Newly released minutes from their recent meeting show many Fed officials believe action will be needed, quote, fairly soon unless incoming information pointed to a substantial and sustainable strengthening in the pace of the economic recovery.
Now, CBO also stressed that if Congress can get a debt deal, a big if, we'd avoid a recession, but still be on the verge of a fiscal crisis. Right now, debt is headed for 90% of GDP by 2022. Brett?
Ed Henry.